Stephen Colbert is taking over for David Letterman when David Letterman retires, and even though I strongly disagree with Stephen Colbert and David Letterman, good for him! The ratings will determine his fate in his show, and that is what's so good about America. Look at MSNBC and Piers Morgan. They aren't doing so hot because Americans don't respond well to crazy liberals like them, okay? So we'll see what happens with Stephen. Hopefully, hopefully I don't know. I don't really hope he does well, so I can't really say anything. Yeah, anyway, liberals, the reason I get so frustrated is because liberals always preach all this tolerance, and they always preach this fairness and this equality. All right, liberals, if you want equality, why don't you start focusing on equal opportunity instead of equal outcome? And if you want fairness, why don't you stop backing liberals who run people out of their jobs like Mozilla because of OkCupid or whatever? This is stranger than fiction, people, okay?
That's Ellie Mae. The reason I'm using this clip is to highlight how she contradicts herself in less than a minute. She begins by praising the free market by stating that viewership will determine Stephen Colbert's success or failure when he takes over The Late Show next year. But then she accuses liberals of running people out of their jobs and cites Mozilla as her example. Silly me, I always thought it was pronounced Mozilla. Anyway, she's obviously referencing Brendan Eich, whose promotion to CEO of Mozilla last March was protested heavily from both inside and outside the company, because he had previously made political contributions to support California's Prop 8. And yes, it's pretty obvious that he felt the pressure to resign because he was negatively affecting the company that he helped to build. The important thing is that this was clearly the result of the free market, which completely escaped Ellie Mae. I know a lot of people are disappointed with the fact that being anti-gay is really bad for business these days. But it's generally not a good idea to openly express or support views that denounce an entire segment of consumers while representing a business. It's not just spitting in the faces of the LGBT community, but also heterosexual, biogender people who support them. Bigotry, in general, is just not in vogue anymore. And if a company loses business because people and other businesses choose to boycott it, then that's the free market at work. It's the same principle with the television rating system, and it happened again this week. HGTV shelved an upcoming reality show called Flip It Forward after a right-wing watch exposed one of the would-be hosts, David Benham, for saying some truly heinous shit. David was interviewed by conservative radio host Janet Mefford in 2012 and railed against abortion, pornography, and homosexuality, referring to them as demonic ideologies. He also stated that he fought for the passing of North Carolina's Amendment 1, which bans marriage equality in the state's constitution. He's also one of those assholes who protests outside of clinics that provide abortion services and calls them the gates of hell and altars of Moloch. Yeah, dude is fucking daffy. Benham is also a shameless violator of Godwin's law when he compared his plight to restrict the marriage rights of other citizens to fighting the Nazis. He's yet another imbecile who ignores the fact that homosexuals were targeted for extermination by the Nazis. You may as well liken the Jews and the Romani to the Nazis while he's at it. So yeah, HGTV wants nothing to do with this guy, and so they canceled his show before it even aired. He and his brother are complaining that it was because of their faith, which it wasn't, and like clockwork, there are a whole lot of folks whining about free speech, man, free speech. Of course, it's a knee-jerk reaction, because people don't understand what freedom of speech is all about. Here in the United States, our freedom of speech is guaranteed by the First Amendment. Well, to be more accurate, the First Amendment is less about what we can do and more about what the government may not do, and it may not abridge the freedom of speech. So what freedom of speech actually means is that the government may not forcibly restrict people from speaking their minds. Now, the idea of total free speech doesn't exist anywhere, and there are definitely forms of speech that are not protected. For example, threatening people's lives is not protected. But just being a douchebag? Protected. In short, nobody has infringed on David Benham's right to free speech since he hasn't been locked up for exercising his constitutional right to be a fucking moron. So he is kind of a social pariah for openly stating bigoted views, and that's just one of the many consequences of speaking one's mind. Everybody else has the right to free speech too. And that's why everything and everybody can be criticized. So this isn't a free speech issue. It's a free market issue. Just like Mozilla, HGTV doesn't want anything to do with people who can and very likely will alienate a large chunk of their consumer base. And that's not to ignore any ethical reasons that might have played a part in their decision to can the show. Again, being anti-gay or homophobic or whatever you want to call it, It's just not the cool thing to be anymore. Oh, and invoking the Bible as justification for bigotry doesn't really fly unless you're in favor of the death penalty for gay men. Before I go, I want to quickly mention that I am part of a new collab channel called The Breakfast Club, and I post videos there every Saturday. Other weekly contributors are Steve Shives, Infidel Avenger, and my sexy face DevShell 2. Link is in the description box. Go over there right now and subscribe.